Galen was chopping bamboo in the bamboo forest when suddenly many golden beans fell out. Galen was shocked. He chopped a few more times, and all the golden beans rolled out. Galen was both amazed and delighted. Just then, a bamboo shoot emerged from the soil. Galen dared not approach it. The tip of the shoot glowed, and then a little person appeared. Galen loved children, so he wiped his hands clean and carefully picked up the girl. Galen and his wife had no children up to that point, so the girl's arrival felt like a blessing from heaven. But strangely, when the tiny girl reached his wife's hands, she instantly grew larger. From that moment on, Galen developed a love for chopping bamboo. With each chop, a large amount of silk covered Galen, and it seemed like he understood something. All the gold and silk must have been arranged by heaven, wanting them to raise Annie as a princess. But what was even stranger was that as Annie grew, his wife's body changed as well. The wife, who had never been able to breastfeed, suddenly had milk. This confirmed to both of them that everything was indeed arranged by the heavens. With the couple's loving care and their peaceful rural life, Annie lived happily. Unexpectedly, within half a day, Annie started learning to walk. Galen was deeply moved, but happiness is always short-lived. One day, Annie encountered a wild boar in the bamboo forest. The wild boar's mother charged at Annie when she saw a human approaching. In a critical moment, a boy saved her. Strangely, Annie grew even taller. The children sang songs Annie had never heard, yet she could sing along as though she had always known the song. In the end, Annie even shed tears. Meanwhile, Galen went to the royal city every day, bringing gold, hoping to build a palace for Annie. Time passed quickly, and Annie grew taller. 2 months later, Galen's palace was completed, and the family was ready to leave. Annie didn't have time to say goodbye to her friends and was taken to the royal city. The houses here were much bigger than in the village. The couple dressed in elegant robes, looking no different from nobles. However, Annie was not accustomed to the life there and still played around like before. To make Annie a true princess, Galen spent a lot of money hiring tutors from the palace. Annie quickly excelled at everything: music, chess, calligraphy, and painting. Within days, she surpassed her teachers. But from that point on, Annie was no longer as happy as she had been before. Every day was filled with practice. In the blink of an eye, Annie had her first period. The couple believed that she had grown up and needed to find a suitor for her. Galen decided to host a coming-of-age ceremony and invited many nobles. According to noble traditions, a girl reaching adulthood would have her eyebrows shaved and teeth painted black. But Annie didn't like this noble custom. However, not wanting to disappoint Galen, she agreed. She changed into a princess dress and sat in front of the elders. Her beauty made the elders praise her, and they named her Princess Kagaya. But Annie was not happy. The coming-of-age ceremony was about to begin. The servants had dressed Annie up beautifully, and many nobles were discussing her beauty. Yet, Annie sat there alone, seemingly unaffected by the commotion outside, as though it had nothing to do with her. The banquet lasted for 3 days and nights, during which the nobles revealed their true nature. They were eager to see Annie's face, but Galen refused, stating that as a princess, Annie could not be easily seen. The drunken nobles began to mock Galen, knowing that he was not a noble but had suddenly become wealthy. They speculated that perhaps Annie was too ugly to show herself. Hurt by these words, Annie felt deeply wronged. She smashed a porcelain bowl, then stormed out of the room, breaking through door after door. Even her luxurious clothes were torn off. She ran desperately, unwilling to continue living like this. After an unknown amount of time, Annie returned to her childhood home, but it had become unfamiliar. Someone else was living in her old house, and she was treated like a beggar. Annie then went to the fields. Her playmates had long since moved away, having to leave the village to survive. Annie finally understood that once something was lost, it could never be recovered.